I'd like to call this meeting for the city of San Juan at 6:33 p.m. May we rise for invocation? Mr. Arjona, can you lead us in the invocation, please?
Please bow our heads. Dear Lord, we thank you for your blessings bestowed upon us. We pray and ask that this meeting is successful and blessed. Guide us, give us wisdom concerning the issues that we face. Lord, we give you the glory for what we accomplished. As always, in your name we pray. Amen.
Face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May be seated. Do we have any public comments? Under public comments, well, at this time, before we get started, I know that this past Sunday was Veterans Day. I'd just like to wish all the veterans who are out there, who are serving, and who have served, and those who have not, they're not here with us today. I want to thank all the men and women for giving us the beauty of this freedom, the freedom that we're able to do and become who we are today. Do we have any veterans at this time in the audience? Can you please stand up? Can we please give them a big round of applause? Thank you for your service, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, commissioners, staff, community. The first item on the agenda is on the presentations. We have proclamation recognizing the Queens of the San Juan Royal Court. I guess right before you have the proclamation.
Okay. At this time, I'll go ahead and read that. Whereas, yeah. Whereas the San Juan Community Lions Club is a nonprofit city-based organization that was formed February 20, 2016 by a group of individuals interested in giving back to the less fortunate citizens of San Juan. Whereas the club saw the need to establish a beauty pageant so that young queens in San Juan will have the opportunity to become role models, help build character, self-esteem, and make history in the community. And whereas the pageant event filled a void in the community and the event in the club's major fundraising each year. And whereas on October 2018, a new royal court was selected to represent the city, and whereas Angela Yvette Huerta was crowned Miss San Juan 2019, and whereas Jacqueline Cadena was crowned Teen Miss San Juan 2019, and whereas Anisa Garcia was crowned Little Miss San Juan 2019. And whereas the Queens have the great responsibility to represent the city of San Juan to the best of their abilities and Queens during 2019 community events. Now, therefore, it be resolved that I, Mario Garza, by the power vested in me as mayor of the city of San Juan, along with Mayor Pro Tem P. Garcia, Commissioner Jesus Jesse Ramirez, Commissioner Ernesto Neto Guajardo, and Commissioner Leonardo Lenny Sanchez, hereby issue this 13th day of November 2018, this proclamation to Anisa Garcia. Thank you. Let me go ahead and sign this right now, and I guess we can take a picture up front.
The next item, Mayor, Commissioners, is presentation proclaiming November the 13th as the one-year anniversary of the Boys and Girls Club in San Juan.
Whereas the citizens of the city of San Juan stand firmly committed to the Boys and Girls Club San Juan unit, who provides quality after-school programs and opportunities, and whereas the club provides safe, challenging, and engaging learning experiences that help children develop social, emotional, physical, and academic skills, and whereas the Boys and Girls Club support working families by ensuring their children are safe and productive after the regular school day ends. And whereas the club builds stronger communities by involving students, parents, business leaders, and adult volunteers in the lives of young people, thereby promoting positive relationships among youth, families, and adults. And whereas Boys and Girls Club ensures that our young people keep off the streets, offering a safe and supportive place to go, providing them with quality programs. And whereas the Boys and Girls Club San Juan unit has 350 registered members ages 5 through 18, and whereas the club celebrates its first year of providing programs, services to the city of San Juan and surrounding communities. And whereas the city of San Juan is committed to investing in the health and safety of all young people by providing expanded learning opportunities that will help close the achievement gap and prepare young people to compete in the global economy. Now, therefore, it be resolved that I, Mario Garza, by the power vested in me as mayor of the city of San Juan, along with Mayor Pro Tem Pete Garcia, Commissioner Jesus Jesse Ramirez, Commissioner Ernesto Neto Guajardo, and Commissioner Leonardo Lenny Sanchez, hereby proclaim November 13, 2018 as the one-year anniversary of the Boys and Girls Club San Juan, and commends the organization for implementing their mission of providing a safe, nurturing environment for our children to reach their full potential. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good job, guys. Good job. Might be my weight or something.
Next item, presentation of the Taft Bronze Award to the San Juan Parks and Recreation Department. Mr. Patrick Willingham.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor, Commission.
Good evening.
This evening, just wanted to take a moment to present my department staff and to thank you all for the support that you've given our department. This past September, we attended the state conference for Texas Amateur Athletic Federation. And the Texas Amateur Athletic Federation presented the city of San Juan with the Taft Bronze Member City Award. This is for outstanding registration, for outstanding support, for our teams, our individuals, and the training that we have done over the year with TAF. This past summer, we represented the city very, very well. Our tennis teams brought home silver and gold medals. Our track teams, our track and field team was well represented with approximately 45 athletes up at the state games. And the director, or the president of TAF, gave us a great compliment by telling us the city of San Juan is back on the map. And we are well recognized statewide. We have a few steps to go to get to where we want to, the gold level, but we're getting there, and we'd like to thank you for your support for all our programs. They've shown a great increase in participation, but not just participation. The kids are really doing an outstanding job representing the city. And I'd like to present my staff here. Not everybody was able to make it, but I have my assistant director, Mr. Ruben Guajardo, our recreation supervisor, Ramiro Moreno, our events coordinator, Ruben Rodriguez, and we have Mitzi Zambrano, our administrative clerk, and Rebecca Renteria, our recreation assistant. Everybody does a great job for us. We try to tend to the community's needs the best we can, provide quality services. I know we're not a perfect department, but we're on the right track, doing bigger and better things to the city of San Juan. So we were awarded the Taft Bronze Member City Award. So we just like to share this with you and the community tonight.
Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Mr. Willingham, let's go ahead and, gentlemen, take a picture, please. Congratulations, Matt. Thank you so much. Keep up the good work, guys.
Next item is presentation of departmental reports. Tonight we have the Department of Planning and Zoning, Department of Parks and Recreation, San Juan Memorial Library, and the Department of Sanitation. I think every director is here available. Should you have any questions?
If I may,
Go ahead, sir.
for the sanitation department, I know right now we have Mr. Salinas looking over that department, overseeing. Are there any plans, Mr. Salinas, for a tire cleanup again? Mayor Pro Tem and I were just speaking about that. I know that on the north side, off of the roadway, right, off of Raul Longoria heading north, there's already tires along the road. And I don't know if we can pick them up or if we can send somebody to speak to them about removing those tires from right there in front of.
Yeah, I know we've been picking it up as we've been called, so we'll go check on that. The reason we haven't planned one yet, because I know we've been looking at doing a citywide cleanup. So we were waiting to do everything at one time, so we don't have to go and do pickups twice, one right after the other. But we can schedule one if it's going to take longer, but we can go get those picked up right away.
Or, yeah, or tell the guys, I mean, if they're driving by and they see them, especially down Raul Longoria.
Yeah, no, we'll go ahead and pick it up. What we normally do is we'll report any illegal dumping to code enforcement so they can go out there, do their investigation, file the report, and then we'll go pick it up. Like that, we have some kind of historical data for future in case we need to come back and we catch somebody. We can file charges not only for the first offense, but the actual offense and the historical stuff on that site.
Thank you, sir.
Right behind the dollar store in the school?
Yes, sir.
The pile is getting bigger and bigger every day, you know, like.
Okay, I'll have somebody go pick that up, sir.
And I know that the dollar store doesn't use any tires, you know, so, but they got
Yeah.
like
No,
15
we'll
tires already there.
take care of that, sir. We'll get it picked up.
Mr. Salinas, I know that in reference to the machinery that you got back over there, I have been informed that one of your grapplers is out. Is that correct, sir?
Correct, sir.
Okay, how long has that grappler been in the
It's-
shop?
It's been out for about 3 weeks now, almost
3
a month. Yes,
Okay.
we should be getting that back at the end of this week. The issue with that is electrical short.
Okay.
The contractor is trying to locate the harness for that, the one that has it, to give us a price on the replacement of the entire wire harness. So what they're doing right now is they're splicing the wires that were burnt because they overheated and they melted together. So they're going to splice the wires so we can get out and running while they continue to look for the price for the wire harnesser.
Okay, so at this time, you don't know, right?
No, right now, we're being told that we should have it by Friday. They had already sent it over, and we drove it down, and the check engine light popped up again, and turned out it was another issue with another sensor and another section of the harness that hadn't been addressed yet. So they're working on that, and we're hoping to have it by this Friday. And then, of course, they'll get us a quote to do the replacement of the harness. And, of course, we're going to have to follow up with additional quotes from additional vendors on that, but we're waiting on the first quote.
So how are you all with the other grappler? Obviously, you're not following schedule, right?
No, sir. Right now, we are behind schedule. What we did is we reverted back to the schedule that we were supposed to be on this month. So right now, we're finishing up the southwest, and we're moving over into the southeast, starting Monday.
Okay, because in reference to the coordinates that you all have, I think it's 2 weeks?
Yes, correct.
I think you may want to change that up, and just for the simple reason that in case something like this happens,
Yeah.
it gives you guys a little, I'm
Yeah.
maybe requesting like a 3-week type of deal in case, something like this happens.
Yeah, we can look at the schedules, no problem. I didn't want to make too many changes since I'm interim right now. I wanted to kind of see what was going to happen with that position yet. But I'll look at the schedule and make some proposals, suggestions to the city manager to see about realigning those to try to get more efficient on it.
And then what about the brush truck or one of your trucks having issues with the engine? Do we have to replace?
That engine was received yesterday, so the shop that's fixing it's already working on it. They did call us today that when they took the other engine apart, we may need to replace. Actually, no, we're going to have to replace the clutch assembly on it and possibly the flywheel because it was damaged along with all of the hoses. Pretty much all the rubber on the truck will have to get replaced. The fuel hoses, the heater hoses, the vacuum hoses, because they're all pretty deteriorated.
And did you get a quote on that? What is that?
We're getting
gonna
that
cost?
quote. We haven't gotten it yet. We should get it tomorrow first thing.
Okay. So what is the plan as far as trying to keep up with the brush and stuff that's out there?
We are renting a roll-off truck to help with the roll-off because we've been finding behind on the roll-offs because we also use those for brush. I will be coming to commission at the next meeting with 2 trucks, a brush truck and a grappler. Fortunately, we can't buy 2 grapple trucks. The prices are above what we budgeted. But I got a buy board price today for a brush truck, which is well within the budgetary limits. And with the savings on that, we should be able to buy a grapple truck as well.
And the reason why I bring this up is because I know we're going into the holidays.
Correct.
And people are going to be off maybe next week, and then once we get into the Christmas break, a lot of our residents, what they do is they tend to start cleaning up, and that's what I'm trying to avoid is to have any more, debris or anything out there. Because I know it's not your all's fault. You guys are trying to do the best you can, but it's just something that we really need to put on the,
Yes.
priority.
We're going to be making some adjustments to the schedule. One of them is the drop-off site location. I was talking to the city manager today. We're proposing it to open it the entire day on Saturday and not just half-day operation like we do now. And the half-day operation is just for the commercial trash pickup. So we're proposing to open Saturday to operate, so brush can be brought over or debris can be brought over to the site.
Great. And now,
so-
how are you going to inform the citizens in reference to opening up?
We'll do a PSA. Once I finish adjusting the schedule with the city manager, we'll do a PSA. We can put it both on the website and see if the media will do it for us as a public service announcement.
Great. Thank you, sir. Any other questions from?
Did we get any quotes on those, on Republican?
No, sir, I have not gotten anything yet. But I reached out to one of them. They're saying that they'll be here hopefully by the end of the week. I reached out to one of the companies. They're saying that they'll be here by the end of the week. The other one, I need to reach out to them again.
That's what we were considering, doing a sweep.
Right.
And, and we can look at, see with how much funds, if we have enough funding there, so we could see how much that load, per load they're going to charge us.
Right. I'll
And
bring
see if
that on
that's
the next,
something we can-
at the next meeting, we'll bring it over for you all consideration on that.
And I know also that, Mr. David, if you can see what would be their cost for a mushler, what do you call it, those that grind the brush?
Chipper?
It's cheaper, but you could call it mulch?
To make it mulch, well, there's different chippers. There's like the chipper we currently have right now to mulch that, but then there's the drop grinders that make the mulch even smaller, which is what they normally use like on park fields and soccer
Yeah,
fields and stuff like that.
because I know that some people put it even in their parking lots where they have dirt, so they won't get so
Correct.
muddy. Like, we were looking at behind Rancho Grande,
Mhm.
and, even when our garbage trucks go there, they just sink because it's like a clay type deal there, and they couldn't pick up the
The garbage, yes.
garbage. The matter of fact, they took them out of the box,
Correct.
that block box that the Rancho Grande has there, because they were afraid that they would break it.
Correct.
You could tell where they slipped, and maybe that's something to look in, where some of that brush we can make into mulch and
Yeah. Well, no-
use it like in those alleys
Yeah.
where it's getting really saturated, the ground, and the trucks are having trouble.
Yeah, that area behind Rancho Grande, the project that we have going on right now at the East San Juan Waterline Improvement Project, crossing TxDOT, we're getting millings from there. We're proposing to put millings in that alley to prevent that, because mulch is not going to help in that alley.
No, but if you put some caliche and
Yeah.
then flatten it and put some of that mulch on top,
Yeah.
maybe it would help out, because I know that Spirit Trucking has mulch in their parking lot, where they park their
Yeah.
18-wheelers sometimes.
Yeah, we'll look into that.
Any other questions?
Yes, if I may.
Go ahead,
Mr.
sir.
Salinas, what's the status on the commercial accounts as far as the front loader? Is it up and running?
Both front loaders up and running. In fact, one of them we had to take down because we had the part that was under warranty, just had replaced, but they got that done last week, so both of the front load commercial trucks are up and running, sir.
Okay, thank you.
No other questions? No?
I'd like to just get Mr. Salinas with the staff, not the staff, the vendors from Schneider Electric to come over, give us an update on the study that they're currently working on.
Mayor's Commissioners, we do have several projects that both the utilities and the Public Works Department has ongoing. Per the list, Anya will be doing a presentation on an update on the water plant and the first-time sewer, and also the Phase 2 street paving project as well. But we also have Schneider Electric, who we partnered up for a performance contract on the wastewater and water meters, and they're here today to give an update on the project. If I may, I'll introduce Mr. Aaron Garcia, so you can introduce his staff.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, David. Mayor, City Manager, members of the council, thank you for having us today. And as David mentioned, we're here today to give you a brief update on the project that the city engaged us to move forward with back in May. My name, once again, is Aaron Garcia, and I'm the local account executive for Schneider Electric. And with me today is Zia Qureshi, who is our water subject matter expert. And we're just going to give you a quick rundown on the status of the project. We're basically at a midterm stage right now, and we wanted to keep you in the loop on what's going on. So usually in our projects, what we like to do is keep in mind the city's mission, vision, with the project in mind. On these particular projects that we're working with the city on, we touch quite a bit of the different facilities, from the water, wastewater, to the buildings, water meters, and that's the scope of the work that we're looking at. So in doing that, we want to keep in mind the mission that the city has with the quality of life for its residents, and being able to provide a consistent, reliable, and quality services. We also want to stay in line with your vision in providing good service. Also, being able to become a leader and increase your leadership here in the Valley. And also to increase local attraction and aesthetics. So basically what I'm saying is that with this project, we keep these things in mind to try to incorporate that into your vision. So next slide, please. So back in May, as I mentioned earlier, the city selected Schneider to move forward with a performance contract. And the key goal for the city was to look at coming up with a turnkey solution on coming up with utilizing utility savings to help pay for the project or offset the cost of capital needs throughout the city. We also wanted to the city asked us to look at the infrastructure improvements. And so the goal of this whole program is, once again, is to try to find as many efficiencies that we can with energy, with water, to help fund the projects that we'll be presenting at a later time. And we're going to talk about some of those projects right now that we've been looking into. So at this time, I'm going to let Zia jump in and talk to you a little bit about the progress of what we've been doing.
Good evening. What I want to focus on is to give you a rundown of where we are, and in the interest of time, I'll run through what I'm going to present quickly, but I'm available to answer any and all questions that you might have. We know from our previous discussions with the city that the priority of the projects was to upgrade the water meters in the metering system. That project is underway right now. There's 7,300 meters that will be impacted or replaced in both commercial and residential. The wastewater treatment plant evaluation is complete, and the water treatment plant evaluation is complete. We focused mostly on the old plant. The new plant is going through a transition from the contractor back to the city, so we didn't get too involved in it because of the previous efforts that Mr. Salinas is involved in there. And then we've completed the building infrastructure evaluation, and that's complete. In the next slide, please. Essentially, here's what our findings are. It has taken us a while on the water meters to get information from the billing engine. You have a software that is called Encode, and we finally received from the Encode folks the data. So now we have all the data that is currently resident in your billing system. And based on that data and the population analysis of the meters, we've developed a sampling program based on statistics. Statistics being that you select a half-inch meter or a three-quarter-inch meter and so many so that it's a representative sampling, and then we would test those meters to validate the accuracy of the meters. So that effort, and I'm sure as being council people, you'll probably get some phone calls starting about November 26, when we are pulling meters. We're not going to remove the meter. We're going to, once we pull a meter from a residence, we'll substitute a new meter in there on the near term so that we can take the meter for testing. So you'll get calls like, what's going on? That's what's going on, is that there's the metering program. I had a discussion with the mayor, and the mayor was very emphatic that wastewater is the lifeline of San Juan and is the #1 priority for wastewater treatment and to foster economic growth and development. Where we are on the wastewater side is the plant that exists. As I told you in the last presentation, you really run 2 plants, not 1 plant. And both are pretty advanced in age and in a significant state of disrepair. And unfortunately, over the years, when a system or a process or a piece of equipment broke down, whoever decided, they just cut that process out. They never fixed it. So the system is sort of band-aided together, and it's functioning, but it is on the edge. So that's one of the things that we noted. Some of the operations are not in compliance with the original design, which we understand. The existing plant, and the mayor was very emphatic, and I want to make a point here, is that what we are proposing and what we are going to undertake for you is to set you up for the future. Spending money to do a 1-for-1 replacement and still get the old is not the right investment strategy. So we are looking at the future of where you want to go and where you need to be, because as your city grows and as the state changes regulations, if you're not ready, then you are behind the 8 ball. So we got your message clear, Mayor, and we're on that, very, very focused in that arena. At the time when we went to and I'll get into a few more details on that in a minute. When we went to the water treatment plant, the old plant was non-operational at the time and looked like it requires significant rehabilitation and upgrading. And the new plant obviously is transitioning over to the city from the contractor, so we didn't spend a whole lot of time there. On the building infrastructure, the buildings that were identified, we've looked at them, and there are some LED lighting improvements. There's some building automation opportunities, and there's some mechanical HVAC upgrades. But I don't want to leave you with the impression that there is significant savings. So you'll have to kind of balance the economic benefit of the investment and the savings. So next slide, please. I'd like to pass. I want to pass this out. This slide basically provides a snapshot of what the strategy and the steps that we would recommend to the city. First is corrective actions, and those corrective actions are to bring the plant to a level where it can have sustainable operations. So that's one of the areas that we're focusing, we would recommend. Second is that with the strategy and the process upgrade that we are proposing, there is going to be a capacity expansion. And when you get that capacity expansion, we recommend that instead of running what we would call 2 trains of treatment, we would recommend that 1 train be upgraded and then placed in standby mode for a backup operation. And that'll save significant O&M savings and what have you. In the process optimization, Mr. Salinas and the city manager have been very emphatic that if there's no reason for the city to invest 8 to 10 million if you don't get capacity expansion and you're not ready for the future. There's no interest in just replacing a motor for a motor. That's not a wise strategy. So what we are recommending is a ration upgrade, which would give you more capacity. It would allow the plant to be able to, what is likely coming in your direction called nutrient removal capabilities, which is the new wave of the state agencies, permitting requirements, giving more controls, better dewatering the sludge so that you don't pay for water transportation to a landfill. You're actually taking solids to the landfill. So all of that will bring efficiency and providing more clarification. And what this will do is, and I'm happy to give you real details, but in the interest of time, I'll just skip over and you can ask questions. What this is going to do is set you up for the future. You will have expanded capacity to meet the demands, and the state regulations say that when you reach 70% capacity, you have to be in design. And we believe that we are going to, with the process upgrade, we're going to add about 2 million gallons a day of capacity. So you'll have a 6 million gallon a day plant. Currently it's 4, and you'll be pretty set for the future. And it'll be able to meet the existing as well as future regulations, and it'll be pretty automated, that reliance on individuals or will be sort of minimized, and the automation and the controls will manage the facility, which is kind of the state-of-the-art wave of the. But none of the elements that we are putting in, just so you know, is true and tested, simple technologies, and your folks will not require to go to Harvard for training. They'll be able to handle it. The solutions are very simple, and they're easily managed. So be rest assured that that's not going to be the case. You don't have to redress your staffing. Next slide, please. We think that the program that we are suggesting to you can be implemented in a stepped approach, and these are some of the steps. It's a plant-wide equipment upgrade, process optimization and protocol adjustments, capacity expansion, and when we say plant re-rating, that will have to be negotiated with the state because we will enhance the process. So that's where you will go from 4 to 6 million gallon a day capacity. And then obviously then the project implementation, which is the solution. And the final stage will be that you are ready for the biological nutrient removal capability. So your plant will be up to date. And incidentally, there are 2 or 3 plants in this neck of the woods that proactively went forward with biological nutrient removal. One is the new $70 million McAllen plant that they built. The other one was a plant right next door to your plant in Farr. They about 6-7 years ago had the foresight to put in a biological nutrient removal plant, and then we recommend that you go the same route because it'll be just ready, and it's economically going to be beneficial as well. And next slide, these are some of the recommendations. We also know that the city is engaged in soliciting a grant from the Texas Water Development Board. I would encourage that you take that money and utilize it for capacity and process upgrade, not replace widgets that are broken down, because that would be somewhat ineffective use of that investment, because 2 or 3 years down the road you could find yourself with the water Texas TCEQ with a permit change and have to spend another 6 to 8 million, you know. So do it the first time the right way and get it over with and be ready. So that's our recommendation. Leveraging savings, and don't hold me to it, but at the current state of our knowledge of what we have investigated, we think that from the savings and the efficiencies that we are going to put in, there is potentially a soft landing for the city with a savings of around $300,000 a year. So about $3.5 to $4 million of capital will be offset by the savings, which is literally half of what your plant needs. So it's a good deal. You leverage the savings to implement 50% of what is needed, and then the other 50% you can utilize the monies from the Texas Water Development Board. So if you're soliciting $8 million grant from the board, 4 can go towards the plant upgrade, and then you got 4 to do something else, you know, infrastructure improvement. So it's a good way to go. Long term, we absolutely encourage you to do some forward thinking, have the capacity in place, because last year I attended a seminar where a University of Texas professor was projecting that by 2040, the population of South Texas is going to double. And you don't want to be sitting or be on your back foot and not have capacity and people wanting to come to your town. So I think that that's a good way. And then I contrasted in that slide at the last 2 bullets, the 2 million gallon per day expansion and investing 7 to 9 million is approximately $3.5 to $4 per gallon. If you were to build a brand new standalone facility for 2 million gallons, it would be somewhere in the $30 to $40 million range. So you're really getting a bargain by getting the upgrade and the process optimization and getting the capacity. And that's kind of where we are. My colleague just handed you a book. This is our report that we put together, and we're at the moment getting into the next phase of the evaluation, where we are going to be developing what is the estimates of the solutions, and we're awaiting a decision from a local technical partner to decide whether they will join our team. If not, then we will have an alternative strategy on that, and we'll move forward, because time is running out and we have to move forward to come back to you. So that's the disposition we are in right now. And other than that, I'm done, and I'm open to questions if you have any questions.
Questions? No?
If I may.
Go ahead, sir.
On your report, sir, I know in one section you list the population, which is 37,000, correct? And then you also list the number of meters, which is 7,000, correct? That's what you received. And Mr. Salinas is not here? Oh, Mr. Salinas is right there. Mr. Salinas, so those 7,000 meters, those are the meters that we service?
Those are the numbers that Encode has provided. I haven't gotten a chance to review those numbers. Those are provided directly to them. But roughly, we have on a monthly basis between 63 and 6,400 meters that we service every month.
Okay.
Yeah, because it changes as people move from one place to another, leave, and people show up. So
yeah, and the reason I'm asking is because, like I said, one chart shows the population at 37,000, but not all of us 37,000 receive water from the city.
Correct.
We receive from North Alamo Water
Yeah,
Supply,
North Alamo,
from military.
roughly we service around 21 to 22,000 of the total population for water.
Right.
Now, for sewer, there's roughly about 9,000 plus accounts for sewer, so we roughly serve close to, I'm going to say about 30 to 32,000, because North Alamo services another portion up on the north. I haven't really looked into the numbers of the sewer. I've been looking more into what generates most of the revenue, which is water.
Based on the area that's still available for development, will this plan suffice, or was it?
Yes, pretty much, and the reason why, because our service area compared to the city-wide, our water service area is only 6.2 square miles, and most of it is developed, unfortunately, in that
Right, that's
CCN
what I'm
area.
asking, right.
The wastewater side is the one that has the most potential for development, because our CCN on the wastewater side is 12.4 square miles, because it goes all the way to Military Highway.
Right.
And it goes all the way almost to Owasso on the north side. We share some of that CCN with North Alamo over there, but we do have some strips in that area that we do service.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Salinas, how often do you guys meet in reference to?
I'm sorry?
How often do you meet?
On this project, we've only had a couple of meetings because most of the work has been done internally by them. We provided the data, and they've been working out and looking at the different ways to optimize the plant and increase the efficiency and the savings of the plant. Because this project is to be funded as much as possible through savings from either the energy consumption at the wastewater plant, for the savings, or the plants of the buildings, or the savings in the accuracy increase of metering the water at the meters. Right now, we use the state average of about 93 to 95% accuracy of the meters based on what we test. Of course, we believe we have meters out there that are a lot less accurate. There's a neighboring city to us that did a project similar to this not too long ago, and they found on average that the meters they tested were close to 30% inaccurate. All right, so if we were to even consider that at a 10%, you're looking at a greater substantial savings, because the 10% in the water loss is not the same as the 10% recovery in income. It's exponential to the amount of the actual accuracy of the water. So the income will be a lot more than what we're actually collecting in the accuracy and the reading of the meters.
That is something that you had mentioned at one of the conferences, as far as the school district is concerned, that it doesn't, the meters don't.
Well, the deal with some of the larger meters in the school district I use as an example is not necessarily the
Right,
school
right, right.
district, it's more the larger commercial, larger
Commercial,
institutional.
exactly,
Most, if not all, of our larger meters are what we call turbine meters, and those turbine meters were designed to have a lot of flow. But since the implementation of the water conservation rules nationwide, most public buildings, all public buildings have to have low flow urinals, low flow toilets, low flow showers, low flow faucets, low flow lavatories. So that reduces the amount of flow that goes to. Well, those larger meters have a bottom limit of what they can read. So if you were to go in the school and flush a urinal, then that larger meter may miss that whole urinal completely. So one of the things that we're going to look at is testing some of those meters in place, because they're larger, they're easier to test in place, to see how much of that we're actually losing, and replace them either with some of the smarter technology that has zero moving parts that can read down to 1/10 of a gallon, or replacing them with some of the technology has been around for a while, which is a compound meter, where they have a high flow meter and a low flow meter, and the low flow meter registers smaller flows. So the high flow meters are for in case the irrigation or fire flow of that kind in the system. So, in fact, the upgrade that they just did to the high school, they put in some compound meters in that, so we can measure some of the lower flows on that. Not all the meters were compound, because we needed to keep up with fire flow, and they have a lot of fire suppression in the schools, so we couldn't put 100% compound, but we do at least have one that's going to pick up some of the low flow meters, because it'll open up jump down flows.
Mayor, I'd like to make one comment on the metering, and we just commissioned the Raymondville project. We replaced about 2,500 and change meters. In the 4 months that the new platform has been in operation and the new meters have been in operation, the revenue pickup is 19%. So when you get accuracy and you get more, so it's going to be very beneficial for San Juan as well. When you have 7,700 meters that are now being, obviously you'll get a lot of phone calls, why is my bill high, but that's just life. The people will be paying for the service and the resource that they're using. So it's going to allow you to do a lot of things.
Thank you so much. Any other questions? No? Go ahead, Mr. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor.
The next report is on status on the water treatment plant number 2.
Correct. And that Mr. Mark Ramirez with Cruz Hogan is going to be doing the presentation on that. He will also be doing the presentation on the first-time sewers and the Phase 2 paving projects.
David, City Mayor, Commissioners. Good evening to everybody, and like David said, I'll start with the water treatment plant expansion. The status update on that is we're getting close to the end. Finally, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. City Attorney, Cruz Hogan, and staff, we've spent a lot of time, a lot of meetings, trying to get this project moving forward and getting it complete, so that the city can finally have this project in their hands and finalized. We did receive this morning actually a request for substantial completion from the contractor. We will respond to that request. We will visit the project again and we'll do an inspection to determine if indeed they are substantially complete. One of the biggest components that we had the previous time that was pending was the SCADA and communication controls of the plant, which is the automation, if you will, of the plant. That item was significantly pending completion. I've talked to the subcontractor who's performing that work for the contractor, and based on our conversation and based on what we know that has transpired at the plant as far as construction and progress on that scope, we feel a lot more comfortable and more confident that they are basically substantially complete with the plant, which means that the plant is producing water as it was intended, and the overall scope of the project is to a point where the plant can operate, the way it was designed and intended. There are some minor issues and some minor concerns that obviously we can look back at and do an inspection of the project and list those items to the contractor and say, hey, well, this item is pending, needs to be completed, needs to be corrected, what have you. But they're more of the say the platform of the filters. It's nothing that will prevent the plant from making water, which is the intent of the project. So that's basically the status on this project. I don't know if there's any questions in regards to that.
That's the new planning. What about the old plant? Were we doing anything to it? Or?
So yes, I guess when I say the project, it involves both the rehabilitation of some of those existing structures and existing components of the plant and the new expansion part of that project. So everything is operational as it stands.
I just want
Go
to get clarification. Are you talking about the old downtown plant or the old number 2 plant?
The old section.
Okay.
Because we had an old section there and we did the new one. Which
Correct.
it looks nice, now completed.
Yep.
But
So yeah, so the old components of the plant or the old existing plant was upgraded. There was some repairs and whatnot to make that plant be better conditions than what it was before. So that part is also as well most of it complete, and it is operational. So again, the components that might be missing is minor stuff that paint here, paint there, or replace this support or whatnot. But the plant itself is making water and is producing water, which is the intent of the project. If there's any other questions?
An exact time frame when the project is going to be complete?
So once we move forward, I think probably, if not tomorrow, we have a tight schedule tomorrow, but probably before the end of the week, we'll be looking to go out there to the plant, again, inspect it, so we can respond to the contractor's request for substantial completion. Once we do that, back in late September, again, engineer and staff, we went out there and we did a preliminary punch list, if you will, to let the contractor know a lot of the pending items they had. They pretty much completed about, I would say, 80% of that list. So now we'll go and finalize whatever items were pending that they were not complete at that time, So we can do an inspection of those and see where they're at, and point out any things that need to be corrected or completed or finalized. But it shouldn't really be a lot. I don't expect to be there a lot of items pending. Just to give you a reference, that inspection that we did last time, I think there was like 4 or 5 pages worth of pending items that we pointed out to them. And again, they've corrected about, I would say about 80-85% of those items. There's a few items that are still pending, and they're working on those. As a matter of fact, they're thinking about this week or next week, they'll be complete on most of those items. Anything else? Okay, I'll proceed to the first-time sewer connection project. We did meet with that contractor as well this week. Obviously, there's been weather delays on this project. There's been a lot of different issues or whatnot. But most of the project is essentially complete. Really the only area that's pending any real work is Sioux Road. There's some connections that we have to do there to an existing main line. It's inside the roadway, so there's a lot of traffic in that road. So the contractor was kind of waiting till the end to come back and determine traffic control for that area. But they're looking to start working on that area this week, and if they don't complete by the end of this week, complete it next week. And then the rest of the project or the rest of the areas is basically clean up, going back and putting some of the fences they took down because of the line they installed, and some touch-up work here and there. But most of it is complete, and we're expecting them to finish out all the remaining work by the end of the week or next week. If there's any questions on that project. No? Okay. I'll proceed to the paving reconstruction project phase 2. That one is been a good project. We're expecting them to complete. There's only one road that's pending pavement, and that's Shore Road in San Diego on the north side. Those should be paved either by the end of this week or next week. That also is weather pending. They're not getting asphalt from the plant because of the weather. So they're thinking maybe by the latter part of this week or next week. Everything else, we did an inspection, also I think it was last month, on the south side of the expressway. All the roads on this side of the expressway, staff and ourselves, we went out there, we looked at the roads, everything they did. We created a punch list for those items as well, and the contractor is almost complete on those punch list items. And we'll do the same thing for the streets on the north side, to go out there and inspect the work and then provide them with a punch list so that they can complete it, whatever details we looked at that might need correction or might be deficient. But we're expecting them to finish the last paving portion by the end of this week or next week, depending on the weather and depending if the plant can provide them with asphalt. Is there any questions on that?
On Short Road, did we remove any mailboxes that were in the way, and are we going to put them back if we did?
Yes, so on the scope of the project, if there was any signs, any mailboxes or anything needed to be, moved because of the construction, they need to go back and put them back in or reinstall them wherever they belong. Again, that's going to be one of those, if they haven't done it, by the time we go and do the inspection, we'll point those out to them. But I did instruct them to go ahead and for them to do their own inspection before they call us, so that they can knock out a lot of those items that are very obvious. So yes, to answer your question, they need to go back.
I get a resident that called and he was worried about that it might knock his mailbox, and his question was, are we going to get it back replaced? And I think you answered
Yes,
that.
the answer is yes.
Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you all.
sir.
Have a good night.
You too.
The next item under status reports is on the comprehensive plan from Human Resources. Ms. Cordero.
Good evening, everybody. In follow-up to the last city commission meeting, there was some questions regarding the validity of the comprehensive plan. I did reach out to them, and they did indicate that it would be valid because it's going to have current information. They did mention that the delay is still, they're actually asking for an extension. They're asking for the end of the month now, because they're having to compile the information that the previous consultant was in the middle of. So they're reaching out to the different cities And as a matter of fact, just today, 2 of the cities submitted the information. So the November 30th deadline is basically to provide a list of all the job titles, the current salaries, with what's actually out there with the surveying cities. So that's what they're asking for right now, is an extension to complete that phase of it. And again, this goes back to, the delay in the job description questionnaires, reviewing the job descriptions, the department directors reviewing their job descriptions and submitting them so they can compile and do a summary so they can reach out to the different cities.
How long is this extension again?
I'm sorry?
The extension that you're
To
talking
November
about?
30th.
But this is only to compile the information coming from the other cities.
Right. That's only for that phase. So we can get something and saying, you know what, this job title, this is where it's at in the job market. This needs to be increased, reclassified, or remain the same.
Got you, okay,
Yeah, and it's only for that phase.
all right.
Waiting for them, right?
I'm sorry?
We're waiting for them. They're not waiting for us at all? Like, we're not-
No,
we're
we're
gonna
waiting
give
for them. Basically, our information is in,
Right.
with the exception of a few changes that were done with this budget. But other than that, everything, they have all the information. They have all the information. So they're requesting, because of the previous person that was doing the work, due to medical issues, this person's having to compile everything again. Yeah, so I'm helping them reach out to the different cities and kind of push them
So the
forward.
request is for an extension to November 30th for this phase of the project.
Correct.
How many more phases are left to go?
We still have the personnel policies and procedures. We have the evaluation form that was part of that process. And we still have, actually, I think they're even going to include, if an employee receives a certain license or certification, they're going to include that in this one also. We also have, I think basically that's it. It's just the personal policies, the job descriptions.
Total of 4 phases, or
It's about 4 phases.
4
yes.
phases?
But the priority, because we wanted to get it to, because of the budget.
Correct.
That was our focus. That was our focus.
And the deadline for completion,
For completing the entire
the
thing,
entire project? Is there a deadline?
we haven't provided them a deadline, but they already know that we're past to do the deadline. So they know that we need that ASAP. The last communication was yesterday. She knows that we've given her already information to Betty Lynn. We've given her information on things in the policies that need to be looked into, that need to be revised. So she already has something in place, but she's still doing some tweaking to it.
But she hasn't given you a, I guess,
A deadline
more or
for that?
less.
No. A deadline for that? No. We're trying to get this out. She doesn't foresee it being too long. Might take a little longer is actually the job descriptions. Because all this is tied in to this phase that they're requesting the extension for.
But that was already submitted. It's already been submitted.
I'm sorry? Yes, yes.
Give them a time frame? Because how long has it been going? If you don't mind me asking?
Well, it's been a long process, actually.
Long process.
Yeah,
Give me a date.
it started basically just the discussion in 2016, but the actual agreement and all that was in 2017, and then they had to request all the information from us, which was a job description, so that took a while. And then preparing the job description questionnaires, which was like a 6-7 page that every department director had to do. And then, of course, compiling that and doing a summary. So it's a lengthy process.
And normally, it takes how long for a comprehensive plan to,
It varies. It varies. The different cities,
On-
they're
on
they're all
city-
anxious about,
Right.
it depends what you're asking for.
Right.
If they're asking for policy, it takes a while. It takes more than a year. It takes about 2. Some cities are even waiting for us to do ours so they can use ours as well.
But you changed firms, they changed firms that is doing it, right?
They didn't change the firm, Commissioner. What they did was, it was one of the consultants that got sick, so the new one had to take over and redo
Got
everything.
a new one that,
Yes.
whatever.
Yes, and she's trying really hard to
So it's
get
not
it.
the same organization that started, that's doing it at the end?
Same firm, just another consultant within her firm that was assigned.
Person,
Yeah, and she was assigned, actually, she was able to file, she got it about mid-September. So she's been trying, and I've been working with her and trying to push a lot of these cities to help her out, because she needs that information from the different. Actually, it was 3 cities that were still pending. But today, I followed up with them again and stuff, and basically saying, you know what, when you all reach out to me, I try to help you. So they've submitted the information as of yesterday afternoon. It was, it was 3 cities. Out of the 6 or 7 that you all approved, it was Harlingen, Weslaco, Edinburgh, Farr, Alamo, that we were surveying. So she has to compile all that information and then provide you with information, provide the city with information on each job title.
Any other questions? No? If not, we're good. Thank you so much, ma'am.
The next item on the public hearings, the first one is consider adoption of an ordinance amending Chapter 1, General Provisions, Article 1.05, Administrative Fees, Section 1.05.004, San Juan Memorial Library of the City of San Juan's Code of Ordinances for the purpose of establishing certain fees for the library services. Before you have, on the last meeting, we talked about, Commissioner Ramirez brought up again the cost of black and white copies and also color copies. We looked at the fees. We're proposing, Ms. Cine is proposing lowering the copies per page from 25 cents to 0.15, and the color copies from $1 to 50 cents. Ms. Cine, I don't know if there's anything that...
No, that's correct. That's what, following up with the request from Commissioner Ramirez, we lowered the printouts and the copies from black and white from 25 cents to 15 cents, and the color, also printouts and color copies from $1 to 50 cents.
This is pretty much in line with the other cities?
More or less, yes, yes.
Well, thank you for all your work in getting this to us. And if I may, I'd like to motion to approve.
Been a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
The next item under contractual resolutions, consider, approve, and enter into interlocal agreement, cooperation agreement between Hidalgo County Precinct 2 and the City of San Juan, Texas concerning reconstruction of roadway improvements to a portion of Highline Road from Veterans Boulevard to Stewart Road. The county is asking and agreed to the cost to make some reconstruction repairs on south of Stewart Road between Stewart and Veterans on Highline, and they're doing this only because of the fact that the city owns the ETJ of Stewart Road, which is about 475 linear feet coming in.
So you're talking about the right-of-way?
Actually, it's whatever the city owns on that strip of Stewart Road.
Okay.
So when you hit the High Line, there's about 475 feet into the street of Stewart.
Okay.
I'm sorry, into the High Line.
High Line.
So they're asking permission to go ahead and proceed with that. It's at no cost to the city.
So there's no contribution, for the record,
Yes, to the city.
at all? Okay, so I make a motion to approve.
Second?
There's been a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
The next item is consider, approve, and enter into an interlocal cooperation agreement between Hidalgo County and the City of San Juan, Texas concerning reconstruction of roadway and drainage improvements on Cesar Chavez Road from Business 83 to Hall Acres Road. Same thing applies here. This is on Cesar Chavez Road. The county precinct 2 is coming in and doing some reconstruction work and also adding some additional drainage where it's needed. On Cesar Chavez between Business 83 all the way to Hall Acres Road, again, at no cost to the city.
Okay.
So move. Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
The next item, consideration and approval of a resolution approving the plan of finance previously adopted by the San Juan Economic Development Corporation pertaining to the contemplated issuance of obligations to be designated as San Juan Economic Development Corporation sales tax, revenue refunding bonds, Series 2018, and resolving other matters related to the foregoing. On this item, Mayor Commissioners, this resolution relates to the issuance of sales tax revenue refunding bonds to restructure outstanding EDC debt, which is currently accruing interest at an increasing variable rate to a fixed rate. The plan of finance that Mr. Chris Vela is here presently will present today has been reviewed and approved on October 24th by the San Juan Economic Development Corporation. This resolution does not obligate the issuance of refunding bonds, but only approves the EDC's actions and acknowledges the EDC officials, financial advisor, bond counsel will proceed the plan of finance is presented today by Mr. Chris Vela. The resolution also acknowledges that the City Commission will approve the final sale on the bonds on November 27th. Mr. Vela, good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Arjona. Mayor, members of the City Commission, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Chris Vela with Hilltop Securities Financial Advisors to the corporation and to the city for the record. On October the 29th, we met with the board of the San Juan Economic Development Corporation, and we presented a plan of refinancing the Texas Leverage Fund that had been outstanding since 2010. The purpose of the refinancing, since the Texas Leverage Fund is a variable rate loan,
Alamo Water Supply Corporation and the City of San Juan and Garco Ltd. As you recall, this is having to do with the Minnesota Vegas Ranches subdivision Phase 1. This is a formality so that we can enter in an agreement with the North Alamo Water Supply Corporation. Mr. Escobar?
It's just basically so that they can, the city can provide fire protection. It's their CCN, so we have to, there's certain rules that we have to follow in case we ever have to use it for fire protection. So.
Gotcha.
So move. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next item on the agenda, consider adoption of a preliminary budget for fiscal year 32, 2019 of the Hidalgo County Urban County Program.
This is for the Urban County Program for year 32, for the 2019 year. The available funds are $295,584. At the last meeting, we had a public hearing where we had Nuestra Clinica and different organizations come in and request funds. That's what this is for. It's a breakdown. We actually did have a last-minute person contact us, which was CASA. We don't have this on the breakdown, but last year the city provided them $5,000, so that's something the mayor and city council can, if you guys want to give them a $5,000, that's something that you can do as well. The breakdown is listed. General admin 3,000. Street improvements would be $275.84. Amigos de Valle 7,500. Nuestra Clinica 5,000. And if you did decide to give to CASA, it'd be 5,000 as well.
And they did submit a formal request, or they just gave you a phone call?
They gave us a phone call. They said that they were going to submit it tomorrow, but so they didn't actually submit the letter. This work plan is due by Friday, so that's why we're approving it. If you guys do approve it, the council, then we'd submit it to Urban County, and the final work plan will be due February 15, 2019.
What was the date on that again?
For the final work plan?
Yes, sir.
February 15, 2019.
Got you, okay.
One of the things, Commissioners, Mayor, that I'd like to point out here is that in the past, the streets that are proposed to be repaved usually under the amount that is proposed. This time around, the estimate came in at $344,000 versus what we currently have without including the CASA at $295, which we're going to be up about maybe $64,000. Just so you all keep that in mind as well, that until next fiscal year, if that is the case, we will need to appropriate for that funding.
Well, I would like to make a motion, Mayor, if I may, to approve as presented to us.
Been a motion, is there a second?
Can I ask for clarification as presented with or
As
without CASA?
presented in this,
In the format?
in this form,
So that's-
this
that'll be without
worksheet.
CASA.
Second.
Been a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
The next item, consider resolution authorizing application submission and commitment of local match for the PSJ Tri-City Pedestrian Safety Improvements Project Phase Number 2 under Hidalgo County Metropolitan Planning Organization fiscal year 2018-2019 Transportation Alternatives Program. Here with us, we have Mr. Joe Torres, and I apologize for that. There's a typo, 2018-2109. It's supposed to be 2019. But this is the PSJ Tri-City Pedestrian Improvements Plan. Phase number 2 is being proposed to provide enhancement in connectivity as we did on the first one. And this is to promote the use of alternative transportation by improving the safety and connectivity of sidewalks with the cities of FAR, San Juan, Alamo, and of course with the PSJ Independent School District boundaries. So we're asking for your consideration. Mr. Torres, I don't have anything else to.
We were very, my name is Joe Torres. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. 2 years ago, we submitted the application as a joint venture between the 3 cities plus the school district, and we were very successful in getting awarded $2.4 million. Out of those funds, the state, it was an 80-20 match. The state, about 5 months ago, gave us their decision, and they went ahead and waived most of the 20%. So right now, it's 80, 17.6, and 2.4. So the local match is only 2.4 at this point, which is about $48,000. The chair for the city of San Juan is only about $7,000 at this point. Now, the second application is due in a couple of weeks, well, next week. And this time, since we have a pretty good idea what the numbers are going to be, so we're hoping to at least do 18 miles across the PSJ area. Hopefully, we can do 4.5 miles here in the city of San Juan.
You said 4.5, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Based on the current rates for sidewalks. So that will be around 12,000. We decided that San Juan and Alamo were going to do 25% of the funds, and then FAR was going to do 50%. There's the PSJ is coming in, and they're doing 11%. They're contributing 11% to the application.
Questions for Mr. Torres?
The deadline is what date exactly?
The 21st,
So that
November
means that we only
21st.
got like 8 days to.
Yeah, so right now, we've been meeting for the last 3 weeks, and we've been working with staff and trying to find all the locations here in San Juan and, in the other 2 cities. So tomorrow we'll be meeting, and we should have finalized pretty much everything by then, but we do need the resolutions. That's the key component.
Sidewalks are meant to be leading to schools or, so that way.
It's supposed to be to the schools, but we're going to have a meeting with TxDOT, and if we do have more money available, we're going to see where we can extend it, pretty much.
Because we know that, I think so, Mayor, we had the conversation, that we need some sidewalks to the north side.
Correct, yes.
And I think so the gentleman here in the front, the first gentleman, approached me in a restaurant saying that, he'd raise those little buggies, and he really needs it desperate, if we could find something, So I know the needs, it's out there.
Thank you.
Not, I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Torres.
The next item, under discussion and possible action, consider authorizing city manager to enter into a contract agreement with Memorial Funeral Home San Juan for disposal and cremation of dead animals. I was approached by the Memorial Funeral Home here in San Juan with the opportunity of maybe as well take the services, not an animal shelter, so to speak, but only dispose of the dead animals and cremate them. One of the things, this is what we're doing with the city of Westlaco as well. However, we feel that another venue will benefit the city tremendously. Not only will we be saving if we send them here to the Memorial Funeral Home and the wear and tear, but also the time that the employee takes to go all the way to Alamo and come back.
What would be, Mr. Arjona, what would be the cost saving?
Cost would be, well, I don't have that figure.
More or less, what, do you know?
as far as taking their animals would be about, it's the same thing, 45 as the city of Westlaco, but I really don't have a number amount that'll say what would be the cost savings, but there's going to be substantial savings. There will be, which is on the wear and tear of the vehicle, the fuel,
Gasoline, all that stuff.
the time of the employee and stuff like that.
All right. I'd like to entertain a motion.
Second?
There's been second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Item, consider the approval of the San Juan Memorial Library Advisory Board revised bylaws. Mrs. Sin. On this item, there's, I'm sorry, Mrs. Go ahead.
Well, it's
Well, on this
just,
item, the only thing that is being revised, if I'm not mistaken, is that the library director shall be an ex-official member of the board. That has been taken out. Other than that, it stays the same.
I'm
Is that
sorry?
correct, ma'am?
No, they want to take on section 2, library director. The library director shall be an ex-official member of the board. They want to delete that.
Right, that's what I
Yeah, and then they want on section 2, changes to a designated commissioner shall be a liaison between the San Juan Memorial Library Advisory Board and the city commission. That's what they want.
And where's that? We don't have.
You don't have it?
No.
It should be, I printed it from the
The
whole
only thing we
agenda.
have, ma'am, is the ex-official.
It's on page 106 and 109.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys. I don't see it.
Oh, okay. On page 109 is the
109.
revision, I'm sorry.
Okay.
It does say that a designated commissioner should be a liaison between the San Juan Memorial Library Advisory Board and the city commission. So instead of the library director, it'll be
A designated commissioner.
from the board. Yes, the city commission.
So move.
Second?
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
The next item is preliminary and final plat approval of the Lot 1, Block 1, Rio Grande Regional Hospital Addition subdivision being 5.14 acre tract of land out of lots 27 and 32, Block 8, John Clausen subdivision located at 200 East IH 2 or Expressway 83 as requested by the Claymore Engineering. Mr. Escobar.
Is located Interstate Highway 2 in Nebraska. The applicant is HCA Design and Construction. It's a one-lot expressway corridor district. That's the zone. It's for the Rio Grande Regional Hospital addition. Utilities are already there at the location. There's a 12-inch city water line and a 12-inch city sewer line. The location, there is also 3 existing fire hydrants that they'll be using for fire protection. Easements have been dedicated as shown on the plat. And the city also requested that they do drainage, so they're going to put an on-site drainage pond, so that'll help with flooding or any drainage runoff. So this is going preliminary and final. Once this is recorded, then they'll go to the building permit stage and move forward for construction. So, and there's actually a representative here as well. If you have anything to say.
Any questions at this time?
So what kind of building are they planning to build there?
It's going to be kind of those, like a hospital.
It's one of those stand-up. Can-
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is David Urizarry from Rio Grande Regional Hospital. I'm an administrator there. So we're excited about bringing a freestanding emergency department to the city of San Juan and the citizens and extending our services. So it will be the same model that we have currently in the McAllen Mission and Annenberg service areas.
What was your name again, sir?
David Urizarry.
David. Any questions?
Motion to approve?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much, sir. You too, sir. Thank you.
Next item, consider selecting and authorizing city manager to enter into a contract agreement for the installation of fencing at the San Juan Municipal Park softball fields.
Mayor and Commissioners, good evening. The park staff has asked us to go out for bid for a fencing project at the San Juan Municipal Park. Staff advertised a request for bids 18, 75, 10, 25 on October 10th and October 25th in the Advance News. On Thursday, October 25th, I'm sorry, that's incorrect. The deadline is October 25th to submit the bid. It was advertised twice in the Advance News. And on October 25th, staff received one response to the sealed bid request, and that response was from American Fence of San Juan, Texas. Okay. Staff has reviewed the proposal, and staff feel that the bid is acceptable. In addition to the bid that's in your packet, the American Fencing Company submitted a bid for $31,960. In addition to that, when we were reviewing the bid with the company, staff realized that they left out about 390 feet of fencing from first base and third base to the foul line. To the foul pole, which is an additional 390 feet of fencing. And so we requested a change order and received an additional bid of $2,340. That additional bid is less than 10% of the overall project, so it's acceptable. I have Parks here to answer any questions you have about the scope and the need of the project. Staff is asking for approval for the city manager to enter into a contract to complete this project.
Good evening, Mayor, Commission. Good evening. Just to expand on that a little bit, since within this past year, we've added new lighting to the ballpark, or to both fields there, and the total pricing on this project is fencing for both parks together. So those ballparks originally were designed only for softball play. So after going out and spending quite a bit of time out there looking at the park, and not only is the fence old, but it was also only for softball. So we needed to expand some of the fencing behind home plate to meet the needs for youth baseball as well, so that we can play both youth baseball and adult softball in those fields and get maximum use out of it. Fencing, in addition, fencing is a little old. It's starting to come up and needs replacing. So we were able to extend the dugouts, make them a little bit bigger, and add the additional fencing, the height of the fencing, height and width of what is needed to meet our needs, our growing needs that we have in the community. So if you have any other questions, I can be happy to.
What was the lowest bid on this?
Well, actually, they were the only ones who submitted a bid.
The only one?
Yes, and we did feel comfortable with them. We went out and looked at a project. They just finished doing the McAllen Youth Baseball Complex out on 29th. So we felt comfortable with the pricing and their work.
What are we doing with the fence that we're taking off?
We're gonna keep it. We're gonna roll it and keep it. They're gonna take it down for us and roll it, and we'll store it for any other small projects we may have.
I don't know if we got any of those sections, but have you seen when they have events that they have those?
That's
things?
exactly,
That might be something that we could utilize.
Yes.
And have it for some of our events where we can block off certain sections, or.
Absolutely.
When you want to make.
Yes. No, that's exactly some of the things we will be keeping it for.
Now, as far as you mentioned in reference to like home plate, how far back are you planning to extend the fence? And the reason why I asked that, because I know that there's a gap in between the fence to the actual building, the snack bar, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So how far are you guys planning to go back, or?
Oh, we're not going to go back any further. We're going to keep it in the same. I'm not sure if I'm understanding exactly what you're,
Like right behind home plate.
okay.
You know the gap behind home plate.
From
It's-
home plate to the back fence?
Yeah, to the back.
Oh,
fence.
okay.
It's not that deep.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? My question is, are you planning to expand that or just leave as is?
Well, there's not a whole lot of room to go back any further from
Okay.
where it's set. The only thing we can look at moving forward is to move home plate up a little bit and expand that when we redo the lines in the infields, which will be the next phase that we're looking at doing.
Now, do you plan to, I guess, part of the moon, cut up the moon further up?
Yes, yes.
You know, to make
We'll
it-
expand it to be able to play multiple age groups out
Right.
there. We're going to try to get the max use out of these parks. As it is right now, they're filled with our flag football and our tackle football, as well as Municipal Park. The lighting has added a lot of space out there, and now we're playing a lot more comfortable than we have in the last couple of years.
So how far are you planning to fence the whole parks? Like,
It's going to
Where
be
is it
all
gonna
the
be?
way down to the double gates that are along the sides.
okay,
All the back fencing was in good shape. It was the fencing from behind home plate. The dugouts will all be refenced, expanded. They'll be longer, and then all the way down to the double gates on each side.
so you're gonna have it locked when?
Oh, yes,
Okay,
yes.
good.
And the double gates will be replaced as well.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Willingham?
Yes, sir.
Also, Mr. Willingham, just FYI, you know how they use the field for softball, baseball, and they want to hit a batting practice?
Yes.
They get the ball and hit it against the fence. Well, hitting the fence, it starts wobbling the fence, starts making, a white thing. It's good if you put some signs, please do not use our
Absolutely.
fence as a betting cage.
Yes, we will have some nice signs designed with a little baseball field on them and do not use for batting practice. Absolutely. Yes, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Willingham? If not, I'll entertain a motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, discussion and possible action in authorizing city manager to advertise for the position of municipal judge as requested. As it was requested.
Oh, okay. Okay. Last meeting, I know this item was back on the agenda, right? If I'm not correct?
Right, yes.
And it was voted down. Now it's back up, right?
It was differently noted the last time.
Okay.
So there has been some modifications to the.
I just wanted
the
to
agenda,
clarify that.
yeah.
Okay.
Right, and just
Some
for
clarification.
clarification, yeah,
It was
the
for- it
previous
was-
agenda item stated appointment of, and in this case, we're authorizing the city manager to advertise for the position. So with that said, I motion to,
Well, I'd like to have a discussion in reference to that.
go right ahead.
I know that in the prior meeting, we spoke about how they wanted to get a judge who's going to oversee, if I'm not mistaken, code enforcement cases. Now, looking at the information that we have here that we received in our packet from October 2017 through September 2018, I see here under code enforcement cases, I see one. So what is the explanation on this one particular case for 1 year?
One
This-
particular case because they have not forced it. And we don't have people doing the code enforcers. And they just hired another person, so now we have three. At one time, we didn't have only but one. And he was not enforcing it. So I think so that getting another judge, getting a judge there to do this and enforcing where people know what are the city ordinance and what is the plan of when they can cut, their quadrants or whatever, and kind of educate the community that we want to clean the city. We want a better clean city. And I think so this approach would be a step to the right direction. That's my opinion.
Yeah, also, and it's at the same time, how the other two judges sometimes are busy, they can't get out of court. I think this would be a good idea to have an extra one just to help out on some of those cases.
For this judge, additional judge that we're gonna have, or?
That was my next question. Did we even budget for this? Is there a budget? Did we budget for this past?
Not for an additional judge. There's not a
It's not budget, but I don't believe that the cost is going to be overseeing 10, 15,000 because we're going to start barely, getting those citations. A lot of times these cases are going to be heard by the prosecutor, and if there's a solution between the prosecutor and whoever is cited, they might not even need a judge, so the judge will be in a part-time basis depending on if cases are there. And another thing is that.
And at this juncture, just to mention, the item doesn't discuss salary or whatnot. At this time, it basically says that listed out to go out for position, to advertise for the position. At that time, once applicants have been evaluated, and then at that time, obviously, you're gonna have to amend your budget should the council want to go forward with either a part-time or a full-time, but those are for discussions to happen in the future.
Well, I'm just saying that, based on this information, the way I see this is that you have a code enforcement coming in that they're saying they're going to enforce these citations. Well, to me, it only shows one.
Yeah, but at that time, we only had one. Now we're gonna have three. So the code enforcement are gonna be under who?
It'll be under planning.
Under plan and zoning?
Right. However,
What we're doing is we're actually going to create a citation book to actually give out a citation instead of just a violation, which is basically just a warning. So
Well,
now
if that's the case, then I think we should just go ahead and gauge it and hire the new code enforcement officer and wait till the new budget and see where we're at and see how many citations he issues.
we're already working on the citation book,
Mhm.
so we can start giving out those citations, but I had to reorganize it because it wasn't totally organized, and animal control had citation books, but not actual code
No,
enforcement.
actually, it was in full enforce then the first time.
It was just violations, which is just kind of like a warning. It's not a citation. And then
You overseen all these three
yeah, because it's code
enforcements?
enforcement, and then
Yeah.
we don't have animal control, but code enforcement as well as building inspection. So
I would like to move forward with a motion and let the vote speak for itself.
Okay.
So the motion is to approve.
So move.
There's a motion. It's been moved.
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
the next item under executive session, the San Juan City Commission will convene an executive session in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Vernon's Texas statutes and codes, and updated Government Code Chapter 551. The item is pursuant to Section 551.087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations, discuss or deliberate current, future, and pending projects regarding commercial or finance information which the EDC is conducting economic development negotiations and possible City of San Juan assistance on Project Square.
At this time, we will be going to an executive session at 8:14. Is there a motion to approve?
So move. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We'll be in executive session at 8:14 PM. Thank you. Executive session at 8:40 PM. Is there a motion to reconvene?
So move. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
At this time, under executive session. Huh? No, I know that, but I was just gonna read, no action, right? So no action at this time. So, is that it? Yeah. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Is there a
Second.
second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
This meeting has been adjourned at 8:40 PM.